3 years ago, my doctor said something to me that I have not forgotten for a single day since. I was sitting in her office, routine checkup, nothing alarming, or so I thought. And she closed her folder, set it down on her desk, and looked at me very directly. The way doctors look at you when they're about to say something they've been deciding whether to say. She said, "Victoria, you are 69 years old. You are, by most measures, in good health. But I need you to understand something. The habits that your body tolerated in your 40s and 50s, it will not tolerate them in your 70s. The margin for error gets smaller. And some of the things you are currently doing, I need you to stop." I drove home in complete silence that afternoon, and I sat in my garden with a cup of tea and I made a list. 8 things. 8 habits, patterns, behaviors, some physical, some emotional, that I had been carrying for years without fully understanding the cost. And I stopped all 8 of them. Not overnight, not perfectly, but deliberately, one by one, over the months that followed. My blood work at my next checkup made my doctor smile. That is all I will say. So here are the 8 things, and I want you to really listen because some of these will surprise you. The first thing I stopped was something I had done every single morning for almost 30 years: sugar. Specifically, sugar in my morning routine, the flavored creamer in my coffee, the small something sweet with my breakfast, the habit I had always told myself was harmless because it was small. Here is what my doctor explained to me that I had not fully understood. Inflammation. Chronic low-level inflammation is one of the primary drivers of almost every major health issue that affects women over 70. Joint pain, fatigue, cognitive decline, cardiovascular stress. And sugar, even in small amounts, consumed consistently, feeds that inflammation quietly, every single day. I switched to plain coffee. I changed my breakfast entirely. Within 6 weeks, I noticed something in my joints that I had not felt in years. I won't say I cured anything, I am not a doctor, and this was my personal experience. But what I felt was real. Please speak to your own physician about what's right for you. The second thing I stopped was something that was destroying my sleep without me even realizing it. Screens after 8 o'clock in the evening. I know, you have heard this before. I had heard it too. And I had ignored it for years because I enjoyed my evening television, my tablet before bed, the small rituals of winding down with a screen in my hand. What I did not understand was the specific impact on women my age. Our sleep architecture changes dramatically after 65. The deep, restorative stages of sleep become harder to reach and easier to disrupt. And the blue light from screens even 30 minutes before bed was measurably interfering with mine. I stopped at 8 o'clock. Books only after that. A specific lamp with warmer light. The change in how I felt in the mornings within 2 weeks it was significant enough that I genuinely cannot believe I waited so long. The third thing I stopped was something emotional, and this one was harder than anything physical. I stopped saying yes when I meant no. I had spent 50 years being the woman who managed things, who showed up, who said yes to the request, the favor, the obligation, the expectation, even when I was exhausted, even when I did not want to, even when it cost me something I could not afford to give. At 69, I sat in my garden, and I made myself a very simple promise. I will only say yes when I genuinely mean yes. Everything else is a no. The relief was, I don't have a better word than physical. It felt like putting down something very heavy that I had been carrying for so long I had forgotten it wasn't part of my body. Your time and your energy at this stage of life are not infinite. They are precious, and they belong to you first. The fourth thing I stopped was something that took real courage. I ended a friendship. I won't go into details. I will simply say there was a woman in my life who had been there for many years. And somewhere along the way, I had begun to notice that every conversation with her left me feeling smaller, slightly worse about myself, slightly more anxious, slightly more exhausted. I stayed for years because we had history, because leaving felt disloyal, because I kept thinking she would change or I would stop letting it affect me. At 69, I finally understood something. The length of a relationship is not a reason to maintain it. I ended it, quietly, without drama, with kindness but with clarity, and I have not regretted it for a single day. Now, I come here every evening and I sit with you because my house is quiet and my children are far, and I think the things I've learned deserve to be said out loud. If today is the first time you found me, subscribe. I am here every single day, every single one. The fifth thing I stopped was something financial, and this one is important. I stopped lending money to people I loved. I had done it for years. My children, occasionally. Friends in difficult moments. Always with the genuine belief that it was a loan. Always with the quiet knowledge, somewhere underneath, that it probably wasn't. What I finally understood at 69 is this. Lending money to someone you love does not help them the way you think it does. And it costs you more than the money. It costs you the clarity of the relationship. It creates an imbalance that never quite resolves itself. It puts you in the position of either pretending the debt doesn't exist or becoming the person who has to ask for it back. If I want to give someone I love a financial gift, I give it as a gift, clearly, consciously, with no expectation of return. Or I say no. There is no middle ground anymore. The sixth thing, and this one, this is the one that will probably surprise you most. I stopped exercising the way I had always exercised. For decades, I had been a walker, long, fast walks, pushing myself. The belief that more was better, that intensity was the point, that if I wasn't slightly uncomfortable, I wasn't doing enough. My doctor sat me down and explained something very clearly. High impact, high intensity exercise after 70, particularly for women, carries real risks that most of us are not warned about. Joint stress, cortisol spikes that actually work against us, bone density considerations that change how our bodies respond to impact. She recommended something I had always considered almost embarrassingly gentle: slow walking, gentle stretching, resistance exercises with very light weights, water movement. I felt like I was doing almost nothing. And then my inflammation markers improved. My sleep improved. My joint pain, which I had been managing quietly for 2 years, became significantly more manageable. I share this as my personal experience only. Please speak with your own doctor before changing any exercise routine. But I will say the assumption that harder is always better, I held on to it far too long. The seventh thing I stopped was carrying difficult things alone. I am a private person. My mother raised me that way, and for most of my life that privacy served me well. I processed things internally. I managed. I kept my struggles quiet, and I got through them by myself. After Edward died, after those 8 months, after that November, I tried to do the same thing, and I couldn't, not entirely. And for the first time in my life, I let someone in. A grief counselor I saw for 8 months. Just one person, just enough. The weight of certain things is not meant to be carried alone. This is not weakness. This took me 69 years to fully believe. I am telling you now, so perhaps it takes you less time. And the eighth thing, the last one. And this is the one I have found, in conversations with women my age, that is the hardest to hear. I stopped waiting for my children to make me feel valued. I love my children, completely and without condition. But I had spent years quietly, privately waiting for a specific kind of acknowledgement from them that I was not consistently receiving. Waiting for a call, waiting for a visit, waiting for the moment when they would see me fully, the way I wanted to be seen. At 69, I understood something that changed my relationship with all three of them. They are living their lives. That is what I raised them to do. The validation I was waiting for from them was something I needed to give to myself. I stopped waiting. I started living. And paradoxically, the moment I stopped needing a certain thing from my children, my relationships with them became easier, warmer, more real. That is perhaps the most important thing I will say today. So, 8 things: the sugar, the screens, the habit of saying yes, the friendship that cost too much, lending money to people I loved, the wrong kind of exercise, carrying everything alone, and waiting to feel valued by the people who were busy living the lives I gave them. I stopped all 8, not perfectly, not without difficulty, but deliberately. And I am here at 72, sitting in my garden, talking to you, and I feel genuinely better than I felt at 65. That is the truth. That is all I have to offer you, my truth from my life, shared honestly. Thank you for sitting with me today. I will be here tomorrow. Come sit with me.